Hey everybody, welcome to this video. We are going to cover Module 28 for Business Math and Calculators. This module has to do with credit terms. So I've got a couple of quick problems that I'll go through to illustrate solving problems that involve this topic. With that, I will share my screen and we will go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and jump into our first problem. It is a word problem. It says this: Fred received an invoice for $700, which included $25 for freight charges, dated June 24th. The credit terms were 210, 115, and net 30. If Fred pays the bill on July 3rd, what is the amount of the payment? All right, so basically what this problem entails is it is a situation where Fred will pay less than what the invoice is calling for if he can pay it early. If you look at the credit terms, the notation 210, 115, net 30, what that basically means is if he pays it within 10 days of the due date, he'll get a 2% cash discount. So you can take 2% of the amount and take that off, and that'll be what he needs to pay in order to settle the invoice. If he pays it within 15 days, so between that 10 and 15 day range, he gets a 1% discount. And then finally, the last portion, the N or net 30, basically means if he pays it within 30 days, there's no discount. So that's what the notation stands for. So basically what we have to do, number one, is figure out which range he falls in terms of the invoice date and the date that he pays the bill. And then from there, calculate the discount amount, and there we go. We'll figure out how much he has to pay for the invoice. Now, one thing that is important to note is that whenever you do discounts like this, freight charges are not included when you calculate the discount amount. So we're gonna have to make sure we account for that when we do our calculation. All right, so a couple of things. He pays the bill on July 3rd. So if you go from June 24th to July 3rd, there are 6 days left in June, because June is a 30-day month, and then another 3 days into July. So it's 9 days after the invoice date that he's paying the bill. So he is within the 10-day window. So he's going to, again, receive a 2% cash discount. Okay? Now, notice when we go to do our calculation, a couple of things. Number one, we're not using 700, we're using 675 because we cannot include the $25 freight charge in our calculation. We don't get a discount on the freight charge. So if that's the case, make sure you subtract that off the invoice amount and use that new total as your calculation. Okay? So $675 is what we're going to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this by 0.98. Okay? The reason for this is the 2% is what is coming off. So that means he's paying 98% of that invoice. So remember, the total amount is 100%, and so that's why we can kind of use those complements, the 98 and the 2 in our calculation. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply 675 times 0.98, which is the decimal version of 98%, and we end up with a value of $661.50. Okay? Now, the only thing we have to do to finish this thing up is to make sure that he pays the correct amount. We have to then add that freight amount back onto the total, because he still has to pay the $25 for the freight charges when all said and done. So the total amount that he's going to end up paying when all said and done is $686.50. All right, and so there is the solution. So he got a little bit of a discount. It wasn't huge, but as they say in business, every penny does count. So if you can get a discount or get some money taken off a bill, it's money saved, money that you can spend elsewhere. So like I said, any amount is a good amount when it's coming off your bill. So there you go. All right, the next problem we're going to look at, another word problem. Okay, this time, Dana receives an invoice for $2,400. The credit terms were $210 net 30. Dana then sent a partial payment for $1,600 within 10 days. What is the outstanding balance on the invoice? All right, so this problem has a little bit of a twist to it in the sense that she's making a partial payment. She's not paying the total amount at this time. But what's going to happen is she's going to get a bit of a discount because she is paying it within 10 days. It's just that the discount's not going to be as much because she's not paying the full amount. Okay? So again, the first thing we want to note is since she's paying within the 10 days, she's going to get the 2% cash discount. Okay? Now the difference this time is it's based on what she's paying. And what we're going to do is we are actually going to divide 1,600 by 0.98. And again, that 98% comes from the complement of the 2% discount. Now, the reason that we are dividing is when you look at the answer that you get, what's going to happen, and this gets a little weird and a little confusing, is they're actually going to apply $1,632.65, $1,632.65. That's what they're going to actually apply to her account. Okay? So they're not doing 2% of the 1,600. They are not doing 2% of the 2,400. What we're basically doing is we are calculating the situation where we're figuring out what amount corresponds to that 98% of a dollar, essentially, is another way to think about it. Okay, so again, it's a little bit confusing and a little bit tricky, I know, but the key thing that you want to remember to do is we're going to divide. All right, now, once we got that value figured out, now we can figure out what is remaining on her balance. So again, the original amount was $2,400. The company that sent the invoice is going to credit her account with the $1,632.65. So again, she got that little bit of a discount, so more money was taken off than what she actually paid. And so the result is $767.35. That's what's going to show up on her balance for this company. So if she were to get another invoice or another balance statement as far as what she owes, it would show that she owes $767.35. So there you go. Again, it's a little bit tricky when it's a partial payment, so make sure that you're careful when you're solving these kind of problems. But again, remember that even though the discount might not seem like a whole lot, it does add up if you are paying your bills early for your company, for your business. If you are getting some of those cash discounts, like I said, it'll add up in the long run over time. All right, so there you go. Those are a couple of problems dealing with credit terms and essentially getting discounts for paying bills, paying invoices off early. Hopefully the two examples were clear and gave you some insight into what you need to do on these problems. There can be some little tricks trying to remember, do you multiply, do you divide, what percent do you use, all those kinds of things. So make sure that if you are confused or you're having trouble on any of the homework or assignments that you're working on, or as you get ready for the quiz, please, please, please reach out and let me know what I can do to help you. In the meantime, I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.